Hello, crew. I'm working out, but in the interest of being incredibly lazy, I thought I would make a video for you of just a bunch of random footage from our Wales trip. This is actually all traveling footage. So if you saw that first shot, we were sitting on the ground in Seattle and weirdly getting that moisture coming up and the steam into the ceiling of the plane. Now that that shot's gone, it doesn't make any difference. But one of the things that made me think about, actually relating to this entire trip, is the beauty in our lives every day. And so like that steam coming up there on the plane was just really pretty. It was kind of magical looking. And everything kind of on this trip, on every day, there were moments that we saw things that were just incredibly beautiful and incredibly magical. But when we, and every day I really appreciated that on this trip. But over this past year, I've been thinking a lot about how on a daily basis, there's a lot of that in our lives, whether it's you're getting up early to go swim, or I'm going for a walk with Scott Fairley, or just like our drive home from Seattle, and you just see so many beautiful things if you take the time to notice them and appreciate them. And I feel like for me in particular, this year has been really good for that. And part of it is, I've done probably more traveling this year than I ever have. And it's made me appreciate that. But it's also, when I come home, I really appreciate the beauty of Eastern Oregon. So it's actually, I don't know, it's just something I've been thinking about. And I just feel like there's this opportunity to appreciate each day and to take a moment to notice all the beauty. It sounds really cliche, but I feel like partially taking video helps me do that, because I see things that I wouldn't otherwise maybe see. And I think having done video for this channel over the last 8 years or whatever it's been, maybe it's been 10 years, I don't know, has really made me more keenly aware of kind of the beauty of things that we generally see. So anyway, as you'll notice, lots of footage in this about driving. And I want to talk a little bit about the driving, which I know I've talked about beforehand, but I love driving in the UK, and we got our receipt from the rental car company, and we drove 1,300 miles in the 2 weeks we were there. I think we had the car for like 15 days or something. So it's close to 100 miles a day. We had, several little short days, other longer days, but lots of the driving is what you're going to see in this long video. It's, on these little back roads that are just stunning and beautiful and incredibly kind of engaging to drive on. They're tiring to drive on, but, we had a schedule that was reasonable. And, it's just like, it's really fun. Now, the car we had, I didn't actually like much. It was it's built by a company called Seat, weirdly. And it was called an Alhambra. And basically it was a little minivan. Slightly smaller than your Honda and our Toyota. But it was pretty classic minivan. And it actually kind of sucked on these roads. It was, its turning radius was lousy. Sight lines weren't good. It was annoying, but still had a really good time driving. And you'll see a lot of these roads actually on this video are going to include, they're going to include places we went, like we went to this little abbey called Abbey Coombe here. We went to an Anthony called or an abbey called Llanthony's Abbey. We went to Castell, which is a castle that we've been to, and you've seen video of that before. Bulk of the Vine, which you've seen video of. It's that pass. And actually the long driving video that I did from a previous trip was driving up to Bulk of the Vine. And we took a different route this year than we have in the past. We also went, you'll see footage in here from when we went to a place called Garn Gach, which is, it's an Iron Age hill fort. Gach, G-O-C-H, means red. And so it's like the Red Cairn, basically. Garn Gach means the Red Cairn. And then we had other random footage, like actually what you're seeing right now was just, we were driving home from Castell, the Red Castle, and we kind of took a back route to go shopping someplace, and ended up routing us over this heath or this moor up over the top of the hills, and it was just amazing. It was really cool. So anyway, the driving is just, it's one of the things I enjoy the most. It's a constant challenge. It's engaging, and you get to see amazing things as well. Now, one of the things about this trip that was a little bit of a challenge was, you know, we had my parents and Sarah's mom. And I wasn't sure how, I was a little worried about my mom in particular, because as you know, she had a collapsed lung in January. So she's really like 7-8 months out from having a completely collapsed lung and being in the hospital with the chest tube. And before we came, she was telling me, oh, I can walk on the treadmill in the gym for 3 miles in an hour, but if I walk across the yard, I get winded because I have to lift up my legs a little higher. And I was like, ooh, that doesn't sound good. So we got there, and basically, you know, my phone kind of tracks how far we're going. We averaged about 3 to 4 miles of walking every day. And a lot of it was in rough conditions, up and down hills and stuff. And my dad had brought trekking poles. Actually, we got Melissa some trekking poles as well that were used occasionally, but my mom really didn't want to use the trekking poles. But she ended up, short story, long story short, long story not as long, she did really well. You know, she got going, and she said actually that she felt better and better as the trip went, and she could feel herself breathing deep down in that left lung where it had still not opened up, you know, fairly recently. So they ended up doing really well, and I hope they had a good time. My dad kept commenting that he was much more engaged on this trip than the last one, and he felt like he learned so much more. And I know they're planning on doing some presentations at their senior center, maybe at the library on this trip. And so Sarah had put together, basically she went through and ended up putting together like a 10-page guide to all the places we were going, where she just went and cut and pasted stuff from the internet into a document. And my dad printed it out and brought it with him and read it, and kind of was much more proactive about trying to figure out where we were going and what we were doing. And it ended up being really good. I think he had a good time. I know my mom had a good time. I know Melissa had a good time. So it was all positive. Oh, one of the things, actually, you'll see here, I've got my phone mounted on the windshield of the car. We basically paid $10 a day for my phone to have data access the whole time we were there. Actually, Sarah's as well. And we used it as the GPS. Now, if you rent a GPS from the rental car company, they charge you like $15 a day or something. So we figured it was worth it. And then we had the ability to to navigate much better. And navigation in Wales is, boy, I mean, it's just, you're on these little roads and there are no square grids. And most of the major intersections are roundabouts with multiple roads coming in. And trying to navigate those without a GPS can be really, really difficult. And actually, in the past, I've always had Sarah sort of telling me where I was going. But actually having the visual up there makes it so much easier, because you can see which exit you're taking out of the roundabout. So that makes it much easier, and I really appreciated that, having that. Anyway, sorry, I'm rambling a little bit. Back to what I've got a list here actually I'm going through. So Mom and Dad did great. The next thing I was going to talk about was actually meeting with Sarah's readers. We on 3 different occasions we had meetups with Sarah's readers, and there was one German fan of hers who actually planned a 2-week trip to Wales to overlap with ours, and we ran into her on another occasion as well, and we're constantly kind of texting with her. Her name's Claudia, and it was actually really fun to meet up with these folks. They're all really cool people and very engaged. Obviously they're excited about Sarah's books and the content, so that makes it fun. We one of the big advantages of meeting these people is that there were some of them were English, but a few of them were Welsh as well. And then we had the Claudia, the German, and the Welsh people. It was really nice to have conversations with them about pronunciations, because the LL is it's a tricky pronunciation, and actually it's regionally different. Like, for instance, when we were down in the south, we stayed at a bed and breakfast where a guy pronounced Llewellyn, with a kind of a percussive at the beginning, Llewellyn. Sarah tends to say Llewellyn. I think it's more of a Llewellyn, but who knows? But the double L is sort of like you plant your tongue on the roof of your mouth, like you're going to make a regular L, but then you kind of flatten it out, and and you push some air through it, Llewellyn. So that's kind of cool. And the double D is a the as in the, T-H-E, that sound. So the as in that, not as in the, but as in the. And so you get those double D's and the double L's. The W is pronounced like oo as a vowel. So yeah, we got to work on all that stuff. One of the other interesting things actually was conversations about being in Wales versus being in England with people. And it's kind of amazing to me how people are still, English people are kind of like, think of Wales really as part of England. They don't count. They're just like a lesser part of England. And when you spend time in Wales, especially with the language, all of the signs, road signs, are in Welsh language as well as in English. And, we would drive around and constantly work on our pronunciation with every new sign that came along, which was fun. But people kind of complained that, we heard several people complain, we've heard this before, English, that, you walk in northern Wales in particular, you walk into a bar or a restaurant, and everyone was speaking English before you came in, but they see you and they start speaking Welsh, so you can't understand them. And what we found actually is that people just speak Welsh. It's like, yeah, they're speaking Welsh actually, but they code switch, so they throw in English words now and then. And if you listen to Welsh speakers, they'll throw in an English word for something every now and then. But people do that with all languages. So it was really interesting to hear that and hear how, especially in the southern Wales, we heard some Welsh people talking some English and saying, oh, we're not like those people in the north. We're friendly here. But at the same time, we went to Pembroke Castle, and the woman giving the tour told us beforehand, kind of unapologetically, that this is going to be a pro-English tour. And she talked on and on about how, since this area was called Little England because the English took over fairly quickly, and they instituted peace here, and there'd never been peace before, and so thank goodness the English came in and created wealth and prosperity and peace. You know, what she didn't say is that, you know, they created English settlements and imported English settlers and wouldn't allow the Welsh to come in at certain times. But she did talk a lot about how the castle had prevented the Welsh, those nasty local Welshmen, from overtaking them because the castle was so impregnable and all that. So yeah, it's still interesting how, you know, there's the story is, you know, if Llewellyn had just if he'd just been willing to show allegiance to the king, there wouldn't have been all these wars, which is completely untrue. I mean, it's funny because if you look at in Wales, they didn't build all these castles until the English. Even though there was infighting, it wasn't at the scale until the English arrived. And the English say, you know, tell themselves, oh, we brought the peace. So anyway, which kind of brings me to, you know, when we went to the north, we always feel more at home in the north. And partially it's because we like more rural areas, and the north is more rural, there's less traffic. We enjoy that. But it's nice heading up to the north and getting there and just enjoying it. Let's see, what else did I have here? Oh, thinking about the other thing with these conversations with Sarah's readers was it made us think a lot about, you know, the things that we know about Wales, things we don't. And Sarah in particular knows a ton about the history of Wales. But, you know, there's some real blind spots in sort of local current culture. And so I thought it'd be interesting to, one of the things we talked about is like going and spending 6 months there, and maybe having people come visit. But I think it would really change the perspective to some degree to spend a longer time there. Which, I mean, how couldn't it? But made me think about kind of the big gaps in our knowledge. Oh, I have a whole bunch of other stuff here on this list. We visited a bunch of industry places on this trip. The Big Pit, which I didn't get much video of. The Ironworks Slint Museum, which you've seen before. We went to this place called St. Cubby's Well, which is actually a 6th century healing spa, essentially, that's now abandoned. And I'll put together a video of that. It's really cool. The other thing that I really enjoyed, and I always enjoy, is like eating. And usually the food is not particularly good, but you know, it's just the cultural difference of having pubs, tea rooms, bakeries, chip shops, rather than sort of restaurants. And I enjoy eating at those. You know, my favorite thing still is, you know, pubs are okay. Tea rooms, you know, are like little lunch places. But bakeries, where you can go in and get a sausage roll and then some sort of baked dessert thing. And it's hard to find those types of bakeries in the U.S. in small towns, but they're pretty regular in the U.K., and I really enjoy eating at those. Let's see, what else did I have here? Oh, the weather. As you can see actually in this video, the weather on the trip was, we saw sunshine every day, but we saw rain most days as well. And I actually love that. I love the mix. I love the clouds coming through. Makes everything more beautiful. You get the sunlight dappled and the dark clouds and the rain, and then it's sunny and beautiful, and it feels fresh and clean. And you know, I prefer that to like sunny, kind of straightforward, hot day. So I was actually really happy. I was pleasantly surprised. You know, every day we would wake up and I would go, well, we probably won't see the sun today. And then, you know, 50% of the day we'd see the sun. And it was awesome. And we'd be like, all right. We got caught out in the rain a few times, but most of the time when we were out, I think there were only a couple times. Most of the time we would be driving and we'd get a huge thunderstorm and we'd work through that. So yeah, I really like the rain. And well, the mix of the rain and the sunshine. Here you see we're actually flying home, so you know we're coming to the end of this video. Probably thankfully for you. I know it's been a long one. The last thing, we met with Taff on the Thursday before we left. It was kind of fun to see Taff there, and we actually went to a little archaeological site with him that he hadn't been to, and just kind of checked it out. And you actually talked with him about pronunciation as well, which was fun. So yeah, it was nice to see him there. So actually, I think I've gotten through all the list of things I was going to talk about. It was a great trip. We had a wonderful time. Looking forward to going back again. But I'm actually ready to kind of settle in here for a few months. So yeah, if you made it through this video, I saw your video about the roaster. Looks great. Saw the video about the cross-country meet. Looks great. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. I want to hear more. Hopefully you'll be roasting. Hopefully today you're getting the venting installed, and tomorrow you'll be roasting. Catch you later. Whew.